Setting my camera first. Okay. Now, as we say that we have oil and gas reservoirs, and then we always make this such structure. As you see in the videos, these structures were the same. So we have three phases here. So now I will make, here was oil, and we typically stands here at this point. Let's say here. Okay. Now let's look at the necessities, right? The engineers or the disciplines that are involved in this one. As somebody asked me before that, how these oil and gas and reservoirs are found. And as you saw in the video, actually geologist plus geophysics engineers, geophysics is involved in exploration. These people, geologists and geophysics, they have, as I said, they use the dynamites, the blast, they do the blast, bomb blast, that generates the S and P waves, and using those waves, they try to detect the oil and gas. So this is the first disciplines that we talk about. Once this oil, gas, and water reservoirs are found by those geologists and geophysics, the second step that we do is the drilling process, or you can say drilling engineering process. Then what we do, geologists, they give information to the drilling engineers, and then these drilling engineers, they come on site and they put their rigs, as we discussed before. Okay, and then they start to drill this well. And they close this area actually to use it. Okay, this is the drilling process. Okay, once this drilling is complete, okay, we remove this rig now. Then after that, what we do, we put a production well here. So after the drilling process is complete, we have another process, we call it production engineering. So what we do in the next phase, we remove this one. Now let me make another well here. And we have a new stuff here, we call it okay. So now, sorry, my drawing is not really good, but I'm trying to give you an idea. So this is called the Christmas tree. So we remove this rig now. Okay, we don't use it anymore, and we don't use this. We cancel it, and then we put the Christmas tree. So from the geology department, they find the oil and gas. Drilling engineering department, they actually drill the wells. Production engineering department, they actually manage those wells. They produce those wells. So the structure of this is the production engineering job. Okay, this drilling process is the drilling engineering job. Then we have one more domain. We call it reservoir engineering. Now, what is reservoir engineering? Actually, these reservoir where the oil is placed. These, for example, now question comes here: how much oil we have here? Okay, whom we should ask? How much oil is there? For example, how much oil? How much oil we have in the reservoir? So, who is responsible for this question? And or second question, what is reservoir pressure or temperature? Who is responsible for such question? Okay, how many years this reservoir may last? This is the question. Or how much water production is coming? And the question comes up here. These are all the reservoir engineering questions. Okay, so what these reservoir engineers do actually, they manage this reservoir. That's the question. Reservoir engineers manage. Okay. Now I will stop it here and ask you, allow you to please, if you have any questions till now, ask. Then we will continue further. Yes, please. I'm looking forward for many questions actually.
Sir,
Yes.
once the drilling is done and a hole is made, won't the gas burst out of the hole?
There is chance for the gas, but we have equipment exactly at this point. Okay, I didn't put it here because of my wrong drawings, but we have equipment here. We call it a blowout preventer. Okay.
Okay.
And blowout preventer means it will not let any oil or gas to come out of them. It will be closed like a cap of the bottom.
Okay.
That's how it works. Because it's a high pressure. Here maybe pressure is 2000 psi and oil will try to come out or gas will try to come out very fast. So we have to stop it here. So it's stopped unless we install this Christmas tree. Yes, any other question? At least one question, one person, at least. I talked a lot. I mean, it should raise some questions.
Okay, I have one question.
Okay.
It might be irrelevant to what we are talking about right now, but I'm really curious how at the beginning they found out that there's oil in thousands of kilometers down in Earth.
Yeah, actually, as you saw in the one of the video, we have a process called seepage. In seepage, what happens? The oil sometimes come to the surface without drilling or anything. Sometimes the gas even is coming out of the hole at the surface of the earth. Sometimes the gas or oil is seepaging. Small particles of oil are coming to the surface. So 100 years ago, people actually found those traces of oil at the surface and tried to use them. Then they realize, oh, there's something down. So then they start drilling. That's how it works.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do a geophysical survey to find.
In fact, all the time we do. And geophysical surveys, we discussed in one of the video that they use the dynamites, and it's an exploration department, and geologists and geophysics, they are involved in this one. And it's actually, we call them an exploration department. Exploration department, where they do the seismic surveys. Nowadays, we talk about the 4-dimensional surveys, and they give, as you know, we have 3 dimensions, X, Y, and Z, and 4th dimension, they talk about, 4th dimension is time in seismic survey. They use time as 4th dimension in those exploration surveys. So that's the exploration department. We will talk about it. We have one chapter for each of them, actually. This is the introduction to petroleum engineering. So what we will do in this syllabus, one week we will talk about geology, one week we talk about geophysics, one week we talk about drilling, one week we talk about production, one week we talk about reservoir. So it's an introduction to petroleum engineering, which will be comprised of all of those parts. Yes, more questions I'm expecting. Any question? Okay, if not this one, any related to oil and gas industry in general, because as you know, we are beginning the introduction.
What are or do we have the ideal values for those questions you've put on the board?
Oh, you mean the how much oil we have or what is the reservoir pressure? You mean this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's a very good questions, and the answer for them will take at least one course. Okay, but I can summarize in small, I mean, as simple as possible that we have laboratory tests. We have some laboratory tests we do. We have a lot of mathematics involved. We have lots of softwares involved. There's a simulation software. And I would like to give you the news that today I was in talk with a company, Kappa Engineering. They are going to give us some softwares. Those software are used to answer these questions. So we may get it by next month, maybe after 2 weeks. I'm in process of talking with them. So these questions needs to be answered by the reservoir engineers, and for them we need data. What kind of data we need to know? What kind of rock is there? How much is the porosity? How much is the permeability? We have complete reservoir engineering course. We talk about the material balance equation. We have lots of equations that we use to find out how much oil we have. We do lots of testing there. We have logs. We have lots of surveys, pressure surveys, temperature surveys. We have lots of logs. We use them. And once oil is coming out of here from this Christmas tree, we do have the real fluid data, how much oil is coming, how much gas is coming, how much water is coming. So overall, it's a complete engineering, and it will take a lot of time and experience to be really able to be efficient to answer all these questions. Usually, another thing I tell you, in Kurdistan, we don't have a lot of good reservoir engineers because these two, drilling engineering and production engineering, is a kind of a physical job. And this reservoir engineering is kind of a visionary job. You have to imagine, because as you know, we cannot touch the reservoir. We cannot reach the reservoir. What we can do, we can just imagine. Okay, oil is coming, why this is coming, why this well is producing a lot of water, from where this water is coming. So it's all about imaginations. Based on your imaginations, you develop mathematical equations. Based on your mathematical equations, you solve those. So it's quite imaginative and creativity things in reservoir engineering. But in drilling and production, mostly is a physical kind of a job. You just go continue your drilling and production process and go on. But for your answer, you have to, there's a book I gave you, book of Tarek Ahmed. I think it's already uploaded. These answers, mathematical equation, problems, you can find it there. Or maybe later on the next semester, you may have another course of reservoir engineering where we'll talk about them in much details. We will definitely talk about it in one of the chapters that we have, and I will discuss some of the basics only. Yes. I mean, this is what I could summarize it, because there's a lot to talk on it. I mean, for hours I can talk on it. Yes, any other question? Those who did not ask, I'm expecting them to ask at least one question. Any question? No question.
Well, I got a question regarding the Christmas tree.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I've seen this in so many, in so many illustration and so many stuff that they use this as a reference when they talk about oil.
Yes.
Is there any alternative for this device?
No, it's like a pipes, but its shape is like Christmas, so they call it a Christmas tree.
I see. So
yeah, and it's a very high pressure device. It can handle 10,000 psi, 15,000 psi. Sometimes what is happening in this oil zone, there we have the sand particles, small sand particles. These small sand particles, traveling in this one, traveling inside this one. So there's a big chance that and these sand particles are not ordinary. I mean, they're under very high pressure, let's say 2000 psi. So it can cut anything. It can cut anything, any, steel, iron, it will damage everything. So sometimes you have to use a very high quality of these Christmas trees, so that if sand is coming or if any other things are coming up under high pressure, they should be able to handle this kind of very high. Otherwise, it will cut them. Low quality material. Even if you put some steel, right, layer or plate, it will cut it. It's that high pressure. It's very, very dangerous. Plus, sometimes the wells are too, temperature is too high. Sometimes we are dealing with the reservoirs which are, let's say, 100 degree plus. It's quite high temperature, and you cannot touch the pipe. If you touch it, it will burn it. Or sometimes, so we call them the high pressure, high temperature wells, HPHT, the term we use. High pressure, high temperature. Yes, I'm
Thank you, sir.
expecting. Welcome. And if you feel that you have more questions, you can email me up for this. And what I expect from you, please go look at the YouTube. And there are a lot of videos on drilling, production, reservoir, oil, gas industry. Please explore, be curious, try to learn, try to find out more information. And if you get stuck in some question, you got some questions, you can send me and we can talk in the next class also. So I'm here to discuss those. Yes, any other questions by now? No questions. Okay, I will save this one and now I will go back to the syllabus, and I hope the syllabus now will make some sense to you guys.